So without further ado, I'm going to announce this panel. It's a fireside chat with CEO of Ledger, Pascal Gauthier, the ethos of Web3, how Web3 companies manage their communities and initiate users, co-building with them. So please welcome to the stage, Pascal Gauthier. Big round of applause. Moderated by Raphaël Bloch.
So, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being here. Good afternoon, Pascal. How are you?
I'm great, Raphaël. Merci. This is great.
Yeah,
this is a great room.
It's a nice place.
Very.
Pascal, when I announced a few days ago that we're going to talk together for this fireside chat at Proof of Talk, I received a lot of messages like, oh, it's super awesome, we love Ledger. But I also received a lot of messages about Recover and people. I mean, we were very pissed off by the recent Recover Ledger. Failed in the launch. So you know that you are closely followed by your community, and I would like to know if it's not the price of the success. I mean, to have those kind of backlash sometimes when you launch something new. Like a new product?
Yes. It is the price of success. To tell you the truth, actually, when we were launching Recover, we talked about Recover many times before even taking it to market and before those past few weeks. And actually, we discussed it with Raphaël in August
at Surfing Bitcoin.
At Surfing Bitcoin. And there was a room full of Bitcoin maximalists at Surfing Bitcoin, which is a great event. And the question came from the audience to say, hey, what are you guys doing about the 24 words? And what is the product that you're thinking about taking to market? And you remember, I gave the answer. I described what Recover would do. And the room said nothing. And then we pitched Recover again many times, even before the FUD sort of exploded on Twitter. 2 weeks before, we had an article in Wired.
And actually, nobody saw this article?
Nobody saw the article, nobody cared. We even had the price of Recover, the name, the price, etc. And so, actually, we started to get very anxious that Recover was going to be a complete flop, that nobody care about it. And it was weird because when we take decisions on building products and services, we listen to the community. And actually listening to the community, there were many people that were asking for a way to handle the 24 words. And when you ask them, how would you do it, they were sort of describing the product that we've built. And there were even more people that are not in self-custody and not necessarily in crypto that clearly told us that if we didn't have something elegant to manage the 24 words, they would never be in crypto because they don't trust themselves with 24 words. And so we were starting to get anxious that maybe we would have misfired that, because I thought by talking about the product before, it would create some questions and, in the community, which it didn't. And so I was surprised and relieved when everything happened on Twitter, because they're like, oh, okay, so finally people are taking notice, and finally we can have the conversation. And I think, in all things, every crisis is an opportunity to do better. So we got the feedback from the community. It is a big deal. People care about that. And I think it's good news. And, it makes us feel that we have a responsibility to do great.
And actually, you said I can't remember, maybe 1 or 2 podcasts, that a customer is king. So it's a good point, but don't you think that you need also to have convictions about the product, about the vision? So how you manage and how you find the right balance between the customer and also your vision of the product and also the crypto?
I mean, customer is king when you're in a consumer business. I think it's the rule. But then you have to understand, what is a customer? And, who is a customer? Who is a customer today? Who is a customer tomorrow? And who is a customer in the long term? And I think this is what's difficult with crypto right now, because the space is in transition. I don't think the space the way it is now will be the space in 10 years. Actually, I don't think it's the case. If you think about what crypto is today, most users are actually on Binance or Coinbase. They don't even have their crypto themselves. So they're actually using a custodian to keep their crypto. And the only use case that they know for crypto is to either buy and hold or speculation. I don't think it's why crypto was designed. If crypto is only a speculative assets and it's only an online casino on Web2 platforms, then crypto has failed. And so I think you have to understand that customer is king, and so you have to decipher what is the good feedback from customer. And typically this is what we've done with Ledger Recover, which is basically asking for more transparency and more like, open source software, which is what we're going to do. So that was good feedback, and we will release the product only when this is done, and we can give conviction to the community that what the service is supposed to do is transparent. And so we take that feedback, but equally we need to have conviction in terms of where this industry is going, and this industry is going to usability. Like if you cannot use your crypto, if you cannot pay, if there are not use cases that are not just buy and hold or speculation, then I don't think it's very good for crypto. So we're building towards that future.
And just one question, who in this room maybe will use this kind of products? Just raise your hand.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 15, etc. Okay, more hands raising.
Okay. So yeah, it's way different from what we saw on Twitter.
I can tell you a personal story. Do you want to hear a personal story from me? Yes? Yes, okay, more hands raising. Okay, so I had 1 nano and 1 seed. And one day I moved like a bunch of Bitcoins to another nano and a different seed. And I was very clever in cutting my seed in 3 and hiding it in corners, etc. To only realize one day that I completely forgot on what I did with the seed and where the fucking shards of my seed were. And then I thought, shit, like now I got my device still, I got my PIN code, but what if I lose the device or where something happened? So then I retransferred everything to another seed, etc. But that I'm CEO of Ledger, and even I was afraid of this event. Like you lose your 24 words, you lose your device, and suddenly poof goes your crypto. So if you think that crypto is going to be front and center in your life, if you think crypto is that important, and if you think that on top of crypto there are many things that are coming that will be protecting your secrets, think passwords, 2FA, identity, all of these things that will become tokens, then there's no way that you're going to trust yourself with 24 words forever. Because you might trust yourself for 5 years, but what about 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, 30 years? What about if you go under a bus and suddenly you need to transfer that crypto to your next of kin? All these cases are real use cases. And it is not true that holding your crypto on your 24 words on a piece of paper is a good solution for this. So we're trying to come up with something that is innovative, that is protecting the consumer, that is trying to respect every rule that the industry has. We're not here to install a backdoor on our devices. We're not here to cheat our users. We stand always for the same principles, which is security and ease of use, and that has always been our mission. And Ledger Recovery is part of the ease of use process that we're trying to bring to market. And
so you postponed the launch of this product. Can you just explain us what's the new roadmap of this product service?
There's no new roadmap, actually. The product is finished. It's just that there are some pieces of code that we will open source, and we will announce soon when we will launch this product, but it will definitely launch in 2023 and soon enough.
Okay, and so forget about Recover. In 2023, what's your conviction about the market? What did you learn from the last 12 months? We went through a very hard year with a lot of, turbulence with Celsius, FTX, and so, what's the biggest lesson that you've learned from this year?
For me, it always comes down to the same thing, which is I've been in crypto since 2014, and for me, crypto was about building payment rails, value transmission, sort of better technology to do what the financial system is doing now. But it was never about building a speculative asset class. And I actually remember one of my first meetings was with a guy in London, and I told him that I wanted to build companies in crypto. And he told me, nonsense, this is ridiculous. You will probably lose your money if you try to build companies where the only thing that you should do is to buy Bitcoin and wait. And so I looked at him and I say, that's probably true, but equally, I would be bored to death if this is what I do. And also, I don't believe, again, this is what the future of crypto is. And I think between now and then, the industry has been too focused on speculation. I mean, the fact that you run an online casino and suddenly you're the most innovating person in the world, I don't think that's true. I think crypto serves a different purpose, and there are use cases that are being built every day on top of public blockchains that are super interesting and important for the future. For me, crypto, forget currency, but crypto in general is what will help humans to be humans online and what will decipher humans from artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is digital abundance. Crypto is digital scarcity. And so if you don't have crypto in your life tomorrow, it's going to be very difficult for you to prove that you're anything, to prove that you're money, to prove that you're human, to prove your identity.
Okay, so for you, it's the two faces of the same coin, right?
Yeah. I mean, if AI will thrive, and if we don't have a way to differentiate ourselves from AI online, like we're humans. And so again, I've got nothing against exchanges, and you need to be able to on-ramp and off-ramp, and crypto is about financial freedom. Crypto is also a speculative asset, so I'm not saying that this shouldn't exist. But this shouldn't take 99% of the bandwidth. Actually, what's more important is to understand what you can actually do in crypto. The white paper, Satoshi Nakamoto white paper, it's a peer-to-peer electronic payment system. It's not a buy and hold system. It doesn't say digital gold, it's a peer-to-peer electronic payment system. And so the question is, when will Bitcoin be a peer-to-peer electronic payment system? It is today, actually. People underestimate how strong Bitcoin is to transfer value from A to B. It is actually one of the best systems today. Try to use your French bank account and send $50 to your friend in the US on his US bank account. See how much it's going to cost you and how long it's going to take. And then you use Bitcoin and do the same thing. Okay, Bitcoin is much better. It was better in 2008, it's better today, and it will be better tomorrow. So actually it works, but in order to make it scalable, we need Lightning, we need many things to happen, we need a bigger infrastructure, but this is the future of transfer of value.
Okay, and I mean, don't you ever doubt Ledger is the leader in the digital custodian assets, but I mean, don't you ever doubt about the market, about the fact that, the revolution won't happen with the crypto assets and so on?
No, I never doubt that. Like, this is happening. This is already here. There are things, what Starbucks is doing with loyalty points is mind-blowing. And they're not doing a test. They're actually moving their whole loyalty program towards NFTs and stuff, and they don't care about the technology. Actually, what they care about is the liability that they have with their points that is on their balance sheet right now. So actually, it's a real problem that they're trying to solve for the company, and it's a real problem that they're trying to solve for the users. They don't want that liability on their balance sheet, so they want to make the points liquid, and so therefore crypto NFT. So when you look at that, it has already happened. Louis Vuitton, what they did last week, with crypto, like Louis Vuitton is an old house. They do it's the best brand in the world. They do 20 billion in revenue. They don't give a fuck about NFT. The only reason why they do it, and they do it like that, is because it adds value to their customers and to their communities. And so when you see the biggest brands in the world moving towards our ecosystem, and Nike sold 39,000 pair of digital Nikes. I mean, that's crazy. So it's happening, it's here. And it's about to become mass market, but to become mass market, you need an infrastructure layer that is quite weak right now. And so infrastructure players like Ledger need to build better solutions that are future-proof and are here designed for consumers and tens of millions of consumers, not like a few million.
Okay. And is the mission of Ledger just to, onboard the next millions or billions of users of crypto and holders?
Yeah, I mean, in what happened to us in the Fed on Twitter, the question is, okay, but like if you zoom out, okay, today you have 450 million users in crypto. I mean, users, people that say that they own crypto. Most of these people are actually on exchanges. So actually, they don't hold their keys, and so you might as well be at the bank. Others are using software wallets. Software wallets are very, very not secure because they're on your phone, they're on your computer. Your phone, your computer is not a secure device to handle crypto. And so you only have very, very few players that are doing hardware wallet or they're doing something interesting with MPC to actually really secure the private key and make sure that you can be in self-custody and secure. But this is like less than 10 million people on the 450 million people. So actually, most people in this market are at risk, and very few people have the technology in hand to be secure and self-sovereign.
Yeah. But
so
how you explain this? I mean, this huge gap between those dozens of millions, clients on exchange, and still you have less than 10 millions of clients.
Because the application layer is not the infrastructure layer is not developed, and the application layer is not completely developed. So even if you own your private keys, how can you engage? What products can you use? None of this is ready for prime time. Okay, so it's very, very, very difficult to develop self-custody technology at scale with high connectivity. Has a very high cost. So actually, the players that have won the last 10 years are players that are doing some things that are very simple. It's not very difficult to build a Coinbase. I mean, from a technology standpoint, okay, from a regulation standpoint, there are many difficulties in building Coinbase.
It's a hard business, but
it's a hard business, but not on the tech side. Like Coinbase is not deep tech, okay. To do a product like Ledger, it is much more deep tech than it is to do Coinbase because you need to master hardware, you need to master operating system, you need to master the whole software layer and the connectivity from the hardware operating system and the software layer. It is very difficult. It's like you're redesigning an Apple. It's a very difficult game. And decentralized technologies are very difficult. Look at Dexys, for example, Aave, and all these guys that are trying to do DeFi. DeFi is very, very difficult. This is why DeFi is still a very small percentage compared to CeFi. CeFi is much easier to build, much easier to promote, etc. So again, decentralization needs to happen if all of this makes sense. So for me, it's not like it's not an if, it's a when. It needs to happen, otherwise it doesn't make sense. If you build Bitcoin to put everything with Coinbase custody, why? Okay. It doesn't mean that Coinbase doesn't have a good service. Don't get me wrong. They have their purpose in the market, and they should exist. You need to be able to on-ramp. But again, if you really want the market to exist, decentralization needs to happen, self-custody needs to happen, and players like Ledger need to get much better and develop product for tens of millions of users, not just a few million. Yeah,
with some services like Recover, I guess.
Yeah, because you don't speak to the masses if you don't have a service like Recover.
Okay. Yeah.
The hardcore, more tech-savvy users don't need Recover, don't want Recover. And it's okay because it's optional and it doesn't change anything in terms of the security of your device. And we know that, and it's okay, which is why we make it an optional service. But for most people, they actually want peace of mind and they don't want to deal with the 24 words.
But don't you fear that OGs in the space and Bitcoin Maxi maybe will, leave Ledger because of new services and the fact that you'll be way from the beginning, from the first product that you launched. How you manage the two communities of Ledger?
Well, first of all, I think when you run a company and whatever you do in life, you need to get a conviction and understand that what you're doing is right. And once you have a conviction and you think that what you're doing is right, you just push through. There is nothing that we're doing with this service where we look back at anything and we're like, oh, maybe
any?
Nothing.
How it's possible? In almost 10 years.
No, but we're talking about Recover specifically.
Yeah, but okay.
Recover specifically. No, looking back at the product roadmap in the past 10 years, we did many mistakes and we will do more mistakes in the future. But when I think about Recover, there's nothing wrong with the product. It doesn't change the security. Well, okay, so you're trying to build services for new users to join the space, which is to the benefit of every other user in the space. So actually, people shouldn't really push back. The reason why they push back is because there are misconceptions. Okay, so it's our role to educate and to explain why what we're doing is right, but also it's our role to have convictions and to push the industry forward. You know, the companies that usually don't get attacked, that are not under the fire, that don't get bashed on Twitter, are the companies that do nothing. Okay, the companies that didn't build a new device since 2017. You know? You
have names in mind?
No, I don't have names, but you know who they are. Like, you know, 6 years without building a new device. What the fuck is that? Like, you know, how is that even investing in the future? And so, of course, if you build shit, then people will be like, aha, like we told you. So it's very difficult to do things, but it's only the people that don't do anything that never get criticized. So it's okay to do things. And you know what? Like people say, but you're wrong and you're the future. Okay, let's see what the future has to say about this. Because me, I'm convinced about certain things. It's not my first company. I've been building companies before. I've changed a few other markets before in advertising, and I understand people behavior. The future needs security, and the future needs ease of use. Security without ease of use is not the future.
Okay, and what's the biggest lesson for you after so the fail of the launch of Ledger Recover? I mean, did you change anything in the company, or maybe in the way that you want to communicate on those kind of services, especially with the community?
No, first, it was not a communication issue. It was a miscommunication issue. We published notes that we shouldn't have published, etc. So in everything that we do at Ledger, when we do good things, we try to understand where we do good things, and when things don't work out quite the way that we thought they would work, like we try to understand what can be, you know, adjusted in the future, and how we can we do better. So every opportunity is an opportunity to learn, and we are learning a lot from this as we go forward. But again, it doesn't change the DNA of the company. Nobody got fired over this. Like, you know, it's and again, because, you know, when I fuck something up, I know and I feel bad. But when I'm trying to do the right thing, it's okay that we get pushback, and it's okay that we adapt to the pushback that we're getting, and it's okay to have convictions. And, you know, I think security is a long game. When people are afraid of something, and when they need to trust partially Ledger in doing the right thing, you know, time will tell. The reason why Ledger is Ledger today is because we've been in the market since 2014, because we sold 6.3 million devices in the space. People use them every day, and it works. And it does what it's supposed to do. Otherwise, how do you know that the product is secure? You have many ways of knowing. You have certifications. You have a bunch of things that we've published. But you know what? People don't trust anything. The only thing that you can trust is time. Why do you trust Bitcoin? Have you downloaded anything on your computer? Did you look at the software yourself? Like, do you know if Bitcoin works? You don't know. You trust partially that some people have done it for you, and because Bitcoin has been along so much time without being hacked, that it works. And so the same will happen with Ledger. When we will launch the product, people will be able to play with it. Right now, people are, you know, there is a lot of FUD because people haven't seen the product. And so you can imagine many things. When it will be launched, it will be open source. People will be able to play with it, and people will see that it's secure, and they can decide if they want to use it or not.
And when we talk about crypto and Web3, it's also a matter of, I mean, decentralization. So how do you work with, I mean, your clients, or I mean, are they, subject to any questions when you are working on the new features or services? I mean, you just work on your side. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, usually I go in a cave. I lock myself in the cave and I make a decision. No, it's a real iterative process where you're trying to ask as many questions as possible to different groups. And it's a very iterative process where you go from zero to conviction of building a product. Again, when we built Ledger Recover, we had so many feedback, because you take test groups. You take test groups of people that never touch crypto. You test mixed groups. You take, you know, experts, etc. And you see what people come back with. The 24-word issue is the big issue, and people were asking for something.
So you were really convinced that it was the right feature?
I'm still very convinced that it's the right feature. By the way, we ask, so for the people that are not in this room, we asked for a show of hand of who would be likely to use the service, and there were a few hands in the room, let's say 30% maybe, that came up. So, you know, I don't think these people are crazy. I think, you know, there is a problem, there is a situation that needs to be fixed. We're coming up with a solution, and you know, the market will decide.
So go back to how you work, so with the client. So you're not working alone. You may survey, but how can you explain a little bit more how it's working? For example, so for Recover, so you had great feedbacks, so you decided to launch the products, and so the next step, you have other services or features that's going to be released in the next months or years. I mean, what's the next step?
Well, actually, let's try it here because every time I do a speech like this, I say things, but people don't react. So there are a bunch of services that we're going to launch that are under the same umbrella, which is governance services. Because the problem when you have a hardware wallet right now, okay, you have your hardware wallet with your PIN code, and then you have your 24 words, and then sort of good luck to you. And sorry for your loss if, God forbid, anything happen. I think this needs to change in terms of you need to have better governance. You have great security, and the device brings you great security, but you need to have better governance on top of the funds, which is, if you think about it, a basic service. And so governance starts with 24-word recovery mechanism, but also if you think about it like multi-sig, if someone get access to you, threatens you with a gun, and asks you to do the PIN code, what can you do? There are many things that you can do. You have plausible deniability where you can have 2 PIN codes for the device, but also you can have a governance layer where if you want to send with your device more than $1,000, for example, or 5,000 or whatever the threshold is, maybe you need 2 out of 3 signatures. So we're working on all of these things that are security features, and security features in terms of governance. By the way, we are already doing this. This is not new, but we're doing this on the enterprise side. We have an enterprise product for financial institutions where we do those 2 things, security of the private keys and security of the governance. It's actually working very well. We have 100 plus financial institutions that are working with Ledger Enterprise, and we're trying to build that expertise to the general audience now.
So maybe you're going to launch in 1 year or something like this?
We have a very complex roadmap with many features that are being launched. We launched recently ENS because in all this FUD, we are still doing a lot with the product. The ENS feature was launched 1 week after the announcement of Ledger Recover. There are so many features that we're going to launch. We have 400 engineers that are working on launching new features. So.
Okay. And so the last question about Recover. Is this episode had an impact on your business? Because many people are just asking themselves, okay, is Ledger had been impacted by this mess?
The short answer is no. No.
Not at all?
No, but look, we've this is not the first time that that this happens to us. So for those who remember, who was in crypto in 2015? Okay, so some people in the room. So you guys remember when Ethereum launched? So at first, everyone was Bitcoin only, and then was Ethereum. And we were the first hardware wallet to support an Ethereum app. And we got crucified by the Bitcoin maxi community to, because we were supporting Ethereum. And actually, looking back, we had to do it because last time I was at not Bitcoin Miami this year, but the year before, the room full of people, and I asked the question I'm going to ask you, who's got Bitcoin? So raise your hand. Well, actually, not everyone, actually. Who's got Ethereum? Okay, so you got more people in the room that have Ethereum than people that got Bitcoin. So if you develop like a Bitcoin-only hardware wallet, actually you're cutting yourself from most of the market, and you don't build a big business. And so our job is not to have convictions on what's good and what's not good in the space in terms of crypto. Our job is to provide security and ease of use. And when it comes to security and ease of use, our job is to have conviction on these 2 things and to secure our users and to make whatever they want to do in crypto easy to use with self-custody and the best security.
Okay, very interesting. And so you're working, on products for the retail side, but also on corporates. How the things are going on this side, because we know that because of the bear market, retail investors are less here, but corporates, you talked about Starbucks and others. Do you see something like traction, something bigger on the corporate side?
Oh yeah, it's huge traction because I think a few years ago, if you would say corporate in crypto, you would think banks or you think financial institutions. Now, when you say corporate in crypto, it's a bigger umbrella under which you have brands and sort of everyone and so then you start to realize that every company is going to touch crypto for many reasons. Actually, a fun fact: 20% of the cash that Ledger has is in crypto from a corporate standpoint. So 80% is in fiat, 20% is in crypto. That's one use case where I think, and especially after the SVB debacle and what happened with the US with banks going under, there are a lot of VCs in the US whose guidance to the companies that they invest in, and not necessarily crypto companies, any company, is to keep some of your cash in crypto and not have everything in fiat and not everything in the same bank. And so when you start thinking like that, you're like, shit, that's actually real life use case for many companies. Like every company in the world should have 20% of their cash in crypto and put it in stable coin. Like you don't want to have exposure to Bitcoin going up and down, put it in stable coin, put it in, whatever you want. But today this is the case for us. But we talked about Starbucks, we talk about, what is that website that sells, tickets online? The biggest one in the US? Ticketmaster.
Yes.
Very quietly, Ticketmaster is, salut Seb, thank you. Ticketmaster very quietly is sending like millions of concert tickets in a form of NFT and nobody knows about it. And so, from the enterprise standpoint, it's happening. And if you think about luxury brands, and this is Paris, and LVMH is not too far from here, Kering is not too far from here, Hermes is not too far from here. All these guys are moving very heavily towards crypto. I mean, go to any of their stores, there's crypto everywhere.
Yeah. And don't you think that maybe the solution is not to talk about the technology, so NFTs, crypto, but more to talk about use cases, digital identity, money, and other stuff?
Yeah, 100%. This is what I was saying at the beginning. It's like, fuck speculation. Let's focus on the use cases. What is it good for? And if you think like that, then you stop talking about the technology. Nobody cares that it's an NFT. But the same way that when a painter paints, like you don't ask yourself so much like, oh, but what kind of paint did he use, like technologically speaking? You don't care. You just look at the art and you see if it creates an emotion. So the technical vehicle is not that important. And people say, I don't understand crypto. And what they mean is, because most people do understand crypto, what they mean is like, I don't understand the way it works exactly, and which is fine because also nobody understands the internet. Like nobody here in this room, I mean, maybe some people, but most people don't really understand technologically speaking how the internet works, but we use the internet. And so we're going to use crypto the day that we don't think that it's crypto, but the day that it's a very easy use case. Like I'm going to pay faster and it's less expensive. Yeah, I prefer to use.
Yeah, you're right, but a lot of people I know in this space are in this space, especially because they understood how the money works and so on. So people need also to understand how crypto and maybe the money works to be involved in this space. It's maybe not a matter of just, okay, fuck the money, we want crypto.
No, fuck speculation, not fuck money. Money is good, we need money. But speculation, not so much. Speculation is not necessarily a decorative, it's not necessarily a bad term. It depends what you're trying to do with speculation. If you're trying to get rich in 2 weeks, that's bad speculation. If you're trying to understand what is the value of a protocol long term, okay, that's good speculation because you're actually giving more money to the protocol and the developers so they can actually develop apps on top of the protocol. So that's interesting, and so we should keep that. But this only works if people understand money. Okay, so when people say, I don't understand crypto, it's not true. It's like, because you say, okay, what is Bitcoin? And they say to you exactly the right thing. Sort of, it's decentralized, it's an edge to the economy. Like, they say a few things, but they're exactly the right things. And so intimately, people understand what it is. They don't need to understand how it works. They need to understand how it is, and they need to understand the best practices on how to use it. And they need to have good application to be able to use it in their daily lives. But again, we talk about this because most of us are in Europe. I mean, clearly here we're in Europe, or sometimes the US, etc. But if you go to Argentina, and you've been to Argentina.
Yeah, exactly.
So let me ask you a question. Is crypto different in Argentina than in France?
Yeah, way different. Yeah, of course. It's way different because, the needs are really different. But no, actually, it's a good point. And talking about the US, so you went to Bitcoin Miami, and you know, with the ACC, Binance, Coinbase. I mean, how is the atmosphere in the US? How you feel the country? Whereas in Europe, it's like we are more pushing on crypto. Do you think that Europe is going to take the lead on crypto? And I know that you are not pessimistic on this, but you don't think that Europe is the leader in the space?
Well, I don't know. It's a very tough question. What can be said is this. Number one, when you look at crypto as part of the sort of tech investment or tech companies, it's true that crypto is the first time that USA and China are not leading the charge. If you take any other technology play, usually the biggest companies are in the US, followed by Chinese company. In Europe is nowhere to be seen. And in crypto, it is not true. The biggest companies are most of the time outside of the US. Sometimes it's a trick, it's because of, regulatory issues, sort of Binance, FTX, and all these guys were outside of the US, but it's got more to do with regulation than really because they're coming from a different country. But if you think about SoRare in France, if you think about Ledger, if you think about Kaiko, what France has been able to build and what Europe has built in terms of DeFi protocols and layer ones, etc., is actually the first time that Europe hasn't lost the game before it started. So okay, so that's new. And I think that tells you, something about the future. Now, if you look at who's trading where, Europe is nowhere to be seen. There is no Coinbase in Europe, and I think that's a problem. If you think about trading fiat, Europe is 25% of the volume. London is actually one of the biggest trading places for fiat currencies, and London is nowhere to be seen when it comes to crypto, and Europe is nowhere to be seen when it comes to crypto. So I would argue that crypto regulation in Europe was too strong and scared away everyone, when the US was able to build Kraken, Coinbase, Gemini, like a bunch of places. So when it comes to trading, actually Europe is nowhere to be seen when you compare it to US and Asia. But for other use cases...
Okay, so we have the projects, the startups in Europe, but we don't have the markets. And how...
We do have the market.
Yeah, but you just say that...
I said the regulation killed trading in Europe. But you could perfectly build, from Luxembourg in English only. I mean, actually, it was Bitstamp. Bitstamp was the platform, but
yeah,
Bitstamp,
one of the first one.
Yeah, but Bitstamp has been sort of less successful, and why? Because the weight of regulation. If it moves, you tax it. If it keeps moving, you regulate it, and if it stops moving, you subsidize it. Okay, so that's Ronald Reagan.
In the US, they
no, but okay, wait. Let's think about what Ronald Reagan said for 1 second. So in France, Bitcoin was taxed at 75% first, 75%, and then they moved down to 30%. Yeah. But when they moved down to 30%, then they did regulate it a lot. And actually, most of the platforms that were built in Europe couldn't really grow because they had like the PSAN and like a regulation. People say, oh, regulation is really good. Okay, so all platforms in France were very small. In Germany, super small. And what's happening now? Binance and all these guys are coming and they they register in France, and we welcome them with open arms, which we should. But also tells you a little bit about like how you kill your ecosystem by putting regulation up front too quickly, and then you have to welcome bigger companies that come from outside, and they've made so much money outside of regulation that now they can pay for the regulation hurdle. Don't get me wrong, it's not very easy. If I was in the shoes of Macron or if anyone in Europe, etc., it's not an easy game, and I think everybody is trying to do the best that they can do. But regulation that comes too early has a tendency to kill ecosystems. So for me, I'm more about self-regulation, but I admit that it's a complex thing. How does it work?
I mean, the self-regulation.
Well, like it works in many other industries. I mean, typically, if you think about the online advertising industry that I came from, we did self-regulate before the regulation came. And usually when regulation came, we already had the best practices. So it does happen in many industries. That being said, if the sole use case is speculation and online casinos, okay, this calls for regulation. That I agree. And so maybe But it's a very complex game. Like, I don't have a definitive answer on this. And if I was in charge of making all the rules in the world, I wouldn't know what to do. So it's difficult.
Okay, interesting. And so on another subject, so how you see Ledger in 5 years? What's your, objective as a CEO of this company? I mean, you want to getting, of course, bigger, but you want to be everywhere on the planet. You want to.
I think in terms of what Ledger has to do and in terms of what crypto is, I think you judge your company and the space in terms of what is the impact that you have and how profoundly you change people's lives. And so I just know that I want Ledger to have much more impact than what it has today. And to have more impact, you just need to design product and experiences that talk to much more users than today. And when it's not anymore like a necessary evil, in a sense like, shit, I need security, okay, I'm gonna get like a hardware wallet, but more like something that you desire, something that you want. Okay, it's a beautiful thing, I want it because it's beautiful, and also because I have this now, there's all these new things that I can do that I couldn't do before. So we really focus on the experience and changing profoundly the product and the experience. So so security goes from necessary evil to actually something that you desire.
Okay, but so you think that you'll be able to, to have the safest products and also something very beautiful. I'm not sure that
Stacks is pretty cool.
Yeah, I agree. But a lot of people are just buying a ledger for the security. I'm not sure that they really want also something beautiful or something that you want to show to the people?
I didn't say beautiful, I said something that you desire, and you desire something for the way it looks, but also what you can do with it. So the experience is what we have in mind. Part of the experience is the design, there were MP3 players before the iPod, but iPod had a better design and it was a better experience. And so what we're trying to do is to evolve to an iPod-like experience where certainly there are many other ways where how you can keep your crypto or how you can engage with crypto, but we want to make sure that we will be your preferred device because it will be a better experience.
We have 2 minutes left, and you often say that you want to do with the wallet what Apple did with the
phone,
with the phone. Do you think that you will be able to succeed on this mission?
Time will tell. I hope that we'll succeed. I think the world needs a much more secure device. There are two trends in the world right now. Everything is becoming crypto. And so there will be more digital assets tomorrow than there is today. More people will use it. And at the same time, you have another trend, which is there'll be more hacks in the future than there are today. Hackers are not going away. And so if you have those two futures and you combine them, then it screams for better security. You can't really build a future of crypto without something that is absolutely secure. It is not true. Phones are not secure today, and the way that they're designed is not secure, and so therefore you won't be able to have your crypto on a phone. It's not possible. So phones will have to evolve, we will have to evolve, etc. What Ledger is doing is fundamental research in terms of security, and this will power our products, and we will be designing new products. Tax is the next one, and we have a long roadmap of products after that, but we also help other companies design product with security in sight. And so that's the future for Ledger, but also that's the future for the industry and humanity in general. Again, back to AI and how do you differentiate yourself from AI? Proof of origin, proof of humanity, proof of something. This is crypto, and you need security
for this. Proof of humanity is from Argentina also. Yeah. The project Proof of Humanity is also, okay.
Yes. But all of these things are very important. So yes, we think we are relevant and we think the future is bright. Are we going to succeed? It's a big question because execution is very difficult and we're tackling problems that are very big, but we hope we're going to succeed and we do everything in our power to succeed.
Okay, thank you very much, Pascal. Thank you very much.
Merci.
I hope you enjoyed it.